Resume recording. Okay, we're recording. So, all right, now I'm gonna share my screen. Laura might have saw this already, but you'll watch it again, right? So, let me try to remember how to do this. So this is a presentation that I used to give when I was traveling and going to wellness fairs and yoga centers, and I would just enlighten people to the truth of astrology and sidereal astrology and just like what the stars are. So there's two of them that we're gonna go through, and some I might browse through some of it quick because I did it. We talked about it before, so because there's a lot I want to share. But anyway, so this was I show the two charts. This is basically talking to people and being like, hey, your sun sign is wrong, and they're like, what do you mean? So and maybe you this is what you have to do as well at some point. You're gonna you know adopt this to your career, or you're going to be an astrologer and you want to talk to people. So this is the best way to do it, is you do it with a presentation and you just like boom. Look at it here. Look this up: sidereal and tropical. Look at the wheels. So here's like all the photos I have. You can see the three different zodiacs. You have the tropical zodiac, the sidereal zodiac, and then the constellation zodiac. So we work with the constellation zodiac. That's why all of the sizes are different. So, and then this is just a little thing. You have the dates. Um, this movie you should watch. It's called The Great Year, and I don't want to spend time showing the clip, but this movie explains precession, and you can find it on YouTube. It's by let me pause this. It's by Walter Cruttenden. Hang on. It's by Walter Cruttenden, and there's a book. He also wrote a book called The Lost Star. Hang on a second. And this explains precession. It's a whole movie that explains it. It's a good movie. It's narrated by uh, what's his name? James Earl Jones. So, so Darth Vader. So, and explains precession. It shows it to you, and this is why the two zodiacs are different. It's because we follow precession. Precession is moves 1 degree every 72 years, and this is good for you to know. And you should definitely watch the movie. And because what this explains is, we all heard the great ages, right? The age of Aquarius, dawning of the age of Aquarius, but nobody really knows what that means. It's just, we all say, yeah, we're in the age of Aquarius. So what does that mean? That's the question. What does that mean? So the way the ancients told time, which is why a lot of the monoliths face east. Sort
Isaac,
of
you're
like,
breaking up.
huh? I'm breaking
You're
up.
breaking up.
All right, yeah, maybe my internet is like waving. Am I breaking up for everyone or just for Laura? If it's okay now, yeah, we're good. Okay, so the clearest example is the Sphinx. So it's facing east and it's the shape of a lion. So they trace it back that the Sphinx was built at the age of Leo, because on the spring equinox the sun was rising and the Sphinx was looking directly at the sun. So this is how the ancients tell time in the great year, when they build with these like monolithic structures. And a lot of that, I mean, you have the temples of Mesoamerica, the Aztec, the Mayan, right? They have all the temples pointing. They work with Pleiades a lot, Pleiades and Venus. So a lot of the temples on the New Year, which is in May, I believe, May something or other, the Pleiades passes over a little hole in the temples, and that's how they observe the New Year. So all these structures are pointing to the stars and the movement of the stars, and using the knowledge of precession. So that way, when we find these monolithic structures and we want to date it, we want to say how old is this thing? We know that the ancients built that way. So you can figure it out, and then you can see, okay, Sphinx was built 10,000 years ago because that was the last age of Leo. That's simple, all right? So dawning of the age of Aquarius means like right now we're in the age of Pisces, and we're at the end of Pisces. We're moving into Aquarius. That's why we say dawning of the age of Aquarius, because on the spring equinox, and this is the difference between sidereal and tropical astrology, is on the spring equinox, March 21st, if you go out at sunrise or right before sunrise when you can still see the constellations, you're going to see the constellation of Pisces up. right? The sun is, and the sun will be in Pisces. So that's how we mark our time. We're in the age of Pisces. That's why the religion, the main one right now, is Catholicism, Christianity, is Jesus Christ, is the fishers of men. Everything about the creators, everything about the messiahs and the creators, all the gods of our time are all related to the fish, right? So Jesus is the fish. He's a fisherman, right? He feeds everyone with two fish of Pisces. He feeds society because he's the son of God. And we're going to get into that too, because that ties into the number 13. So that's why on March 21st, tropical astrology is still pointing, is still saying Aries. And that's not where the sun is on March 21st. It's in Pisces because we've precessed through the age of Aries into the age of Pisces, marked by the beginning of the whole common era, right? Common era is the age of Pisces. And then we'll have a great ending of the age, which is what's going on now, the ending of the age, and then probably some type of, they always say at the end of an age there's some type of deluge or some type of catastrophe. Civilization falls and then it rises again. And this is part of what the ancients would do. They would build these monolithic structures to say, hey, we were intelligent, we just fallen. And if you know mathematics, you're going to see that we know what we were doing. We built temples, and you can't even build the temples that we built before with your knowledge. So this is kind of, right? So let me just keep moving through here. Okay, wait one sec. So this movie's getting stuck. I don't know. One sec. I might have to figure out. Okay, there we go. So one of the things for me is this is a good book. I'm going to share it with you later, but in case somehow it doesn't happen, this is called the Hermetica, the Lost Wisdom of the Pharaohs. Now, so I've been into mythology, and I was astrophotographer, and I've worked with shamans, on plant medicine journeys, things like that. So I've had some pretty out of worldly experiences. So the stars literally one day just started talking to me. So this is what got me into astrology. So, but the thing was, I want to know how it works. And a lot of times, astrologers can't really explain to you how it works. So this is a journey of explaining how it works. And one of the things is I came across the Hermetica. And this is what really sparked my interest, because this made me realize that, yeah, we do have, the, astrology we should pay attention to astrology. And that makes a lot of sense, that our power can be accessed through knowing the energy or the makeup of the cosmos, because that's what we are a map of as well. So hang on, I want to open my window. Hang on a second. It's raining like crazy. So the Hermetica is the Hermetic teachings, the Egyptian teachings. And Hermes Trismegistus is, in Greek mythology, he's the scribe, or the wise one. But in Egypt, he's Thoth. I don't know if anybody has ever seen Thoth. See the ibis-headed scribe? So he's the one always writing. He's the smartest one. He's the intelligent one, the smartest one. So Thoth. And there's a lot of information about Thoth. But you can see he has the rod of Asclepius here, Imhotep, Ophiuchus. He's holding it. So he knows the wisdom of resurrection, the wisdom of infinite life. And same thing, he's holding the Ankh right here. This is universal infinite life. It's also the symbol of Venus. You see? If you make it less of an oval, it's Venus. Anyway, so I'm reading this book, and this is what comes up, and this is what makes me, really get into the ancient roots of astrology rather than the kind of astrology 101 type of stuff, that we see on all over the web. So here's a couple verses. Very few. This is a conversation. Atum is the god. Atum is God. Atom, like the molecule, which is what we all are. We're atoms. So we are all gods. That's kind of what the game is. We're all gods, reflecting separation so we can understand God. So here, very few human beings are capable of escaping the determining influence of the zodiac. Man's earthly life is controlled by the power of destiny through the physical limitations of the mortal body. However, if a man's mind is illuminated by the light of God, he becomes free from the celestial influences, for even the gods are powerless before God. So this is saying if you become enlightened to the lights, meaning the stars, you'll be free from the binding of the zodiac, right? The zodiac, the root word, the zodiac means zoo. You've noticed all the zodiac is animals, beastly creatures. These are the beastly archetypes that we have to transcend and transmute. And that's why 13 is the living man, living human, right? It's Ophiuchus, Asclepius, because he transmutes all of the beastly archetype energy, and he becomes enlightened being. So this is why 13 is hidden, but we'll get more into that. So Atum, which is the great god, applies. I will build the zodiac, a secret mechanism in the stars linked to unerring and inevitable fate. The lives of men from birth to final destruction shall be controlled by the hidden workings of this mechanism. Hermes teaches that our individual destiny is created by the positions of the planets at the moment of birth. These are the gods who take charge of us, controlling our bodies and shaping our souls. So nature makes the human body so that its constitution resonates with the patterns of the stars in such a way that they mutually affect one another. So one of the key, there's a lot of keywords that had me jumping off, because how can you mutually affect another star? And this is what we talk about quantum entanglement and string theory. There's a mutual effect. This is the Native American saying of what you do to the net, you do to yourself. So we'll get more into Net, the goddess, the divine knitter. So here's something. As a soul sinks into incarnation, it forgets its own nature and takes on the qualities of the gods who had shut it into a human body, meaning the planets, right? Because he just said the patterns of the stars in such a way, right? Where was it here? So anyways, yeah, these gods take charge of us, controlling our bodies. And then here we sink in, and Hermes just it takes on the qualities of the gods who have shut it into a human body, meaning that when we're born, our chart is what they're talking about. The positions of the gods. Now we're vibrating we're mimicking that vibration in the human body. So we're shut into a body, because the ancients, the spiritual teachings teach that in our bodies, it's a form of death, right? When you're free, spirit open in the oneness, that's alive. So a lot of times when you're going to read through this, when I share this with you, the books, you're going to see that they call it the Amenta. Hang on a second. It's like this movie keeps coming up for us. It's so weird. 1 second. Okay. So they're going to refer to Earth as the Amenta. Like if you read the Book of the Dead, they refer to Earth as the Amenta. And then you look at the Amenta. The Amenta means the underworld. It's where the dead people go. So they say that we're dead. So the Book of the Dead, if it's properly translated in Kemetic, it means coming of the light. So, and I went to the museum, to the Metropolitan Museum in New York City, where they have an Egyptian exhibit. And the Book of the Dead of Imhotep which is Ophiuchus Asclepius, Imhotep. His Book of the Dead is on display, and I think it's like 26 BC or 26th century. The dates are going to be here when we get through, but his actual writing is there. So what that is he's on Earth, spiritually considered dead, but writing about his experience on Earth, finding his way back to spirit. So that's his Book of the Dead, because he's dead writing it. He's a dead spirit in a human body writing it. So their view of the human body is like a prison cell, right? So that's why they say the soul sinks into incarnation and forgets, and it gets shoved into a body. Hermes describes a vision of disembodied souls about to make their journey into a physical form. They are filled with fear and horror at the fate which awaits them. They cannot bear the prospect of such imprisonment. So that's why there's a lot of talk, like they call this the flesh prison, things like that. You hear that a lot. That's kind of where it comes from. So one of the things that you're going to run to as an astrologer, especially like biblical, is they're going to say the Bible, I read the Bible, astrology is evil. Like, I'm Christian, astrology is the devil, all this stuff. So I have a clip here that I'm going to play for you from Jordan Maxwell. Let me just get it. Let me get it going. Hang on a second. Let me just see. Okay. Let me get my mouse. Oh, why is this not playing? Okay, one second. Let me just. Let me see. All right. I think I got to get to it this way. Oh, yeah, here you go. We can play it right here. Why isn't this playing? Move my camera. All right, hang on a second. This is a really important clip, and I want to make sure we got it. Let me just move this out of the way. But not, I can't see. My sound too. So, I'm sorry, I'm having a hard time. I'm doing this on my tablet, and it's like. Can you hear this or no? Yeah, I gotta share my sound. Hold on one second. I'm gonna stop sharing, and I'm gonna do share computer sound. There we go. Okay, there we go. So.
Job 38, where it says, saying to Job, can you bind the chains of the Pleiades?
Yeah.
Pleiades are the constellations in that. So here God is saying, can you bind the chains of the Pleiades? Can you lead forth the constellations in their seasons? And then it says in 33, do you know the ordinances of heaven? The ordinances simply means a decree, a law, a directive. It's the law. You understand? So God is, do you understand the laws that govern the heavens? I'm asking the same question today. First of all, in order to know the ordinances of heaven, you must know the most important part of each of the laws of heaven. The word in the Bible is Mazarah, the ordinances of heaven.
It's breaking up.
If you go to Job 38, 32, you will see the word Mazarah. And in the footnotes, it says the signs of the zodiac. Now, a lot of people think that the zodiac should not be connected to Christianity or the Bible at all. Actually, in point of fact, the zodiac is the basis for both Old and New Testament. When you consult Bible references like the Bible dictionaries and encyclopedias, Look up the word Mazzaroth and it will tell you it's the 12 signs of the zodiac. We are given to understand in the Bible that God created the zodiac. And that may sound strange to a lot of people because most people think of the zodiac as something evil, especially in Christianity. But no, the zodiac is the basis for much of our learning today, much of our symbolism today, especially in religion and politics. I mean, even the watch you wear is 12 signs of the zodiac, or the 12 signs that go in a circle. And that's what the word zodiac means, the 12 signs. We talk about the kingdom of God all the time, but most people don't realize what the king.
So did we hear it, or was it hard?
It was hard because it would be okay and then it would get
Yeah. Anyway,
hard.
you're gonna, on the replay, it should come through better. It will come through on the replay. But if you were watching what he was showing you, he was saying in the Bible it says, "Do you know the ordinances of heaven? Do you know the way of the Mazzaroth?" So then no one really looks that up, right? Because everyone just says, "Oh, what's the Mazzaroth?" Right? You look up the Mazzaroth in the Bible dictionary, what he did, and it means the 12 signs of the zodiac. Right? Can you master? Can you know your way through the Mazzaroth? And those are the stars. So in the Bible, it says that. And if you look through the Bible, you can even Google astrology references in the Bible, and there's quite a few of them. I did a video on that a while ago. You know, even the Pleiades are in the Bible. I think he says it in the beginning, Job 38:31. Can't you bind the sweet influence of the Pleiades, or loose the chains of Orion? So they're talking about the stars in here, right? So, and let me just move on. So this is just this will back you up when you're talking. You can kind of share these type of things, right? And then here's something that's quite interesting that I share a lot, and people are surprised when they hear it. Let me just move. So, this is from a book called Sidereal Mythology, Astrotheology and Sidereal Mythology. So I'll give you a copy of that book. But basically, I took a few quotes. It says, "As far as Christianity goes, little has changed since the days of the old. The new chief cardinal bishop prelates and clergymen ensconced at their headquarters in the Vatican City and elsewhere endeavor to keep their interest in the stars as secret as possible." So, and we all know this, although the Roman Catholic Church once waged long and bitter war on the science and astronomy, particularly condemning Galileo. In general, they were quite involved in astronomy. The church gave more financial and social support to the study of astronomy for over 6 centuries, from the recovery of the ancient learning during the late Middle Ages into Enlightenment, than any other and probably all other institutions. So the Vatican supports astronomy, right? The knowledge of the stars. And this isn't to the upper right is an observatory. They actually have a foundation called the Vatican Observatory Foundation, right? So they finance huge telescopes. So they're deeply connected to the stars, right? And they're not building spaceships. They're studying the stars. They're studying what the Mazzaroth is. They're the ones that are keeping that power, which is why they same how all conspiracies work, right? We have the truth, and then they say that truth is evil and don't do it, and if you do, we're going to kill you, but we're going to kill you because we're trying to protect you from the evil. But then they're the biggest investors in astronomy. So to make it even more weirder, I'll show you the next clip. So this is a telescope that they financed, and a lot of people are blown away, and they said, "Oh, this is just an acronym." And the acronym comes up to the word Lucifer. And that's just, we didn't even realize that. We made an acronym of what the telescope is. So it's like, all right, let's have a look at what the telescope, what this acronym means. Large binocular telescope, near infrared utility with camera and integral field unit for extragalactic research. So that's why they said we didn't realize that the acronym came up to Lucifer. How weird is that? But meanwhile, they had the Vatican, right? And they couldn't figure that one out. I don't think so. And also, why would you say, large binocular telescope? Why don't you just say binocular telescope? Just go with that, binocular telescope. Near infrared for galactic research. That's it. A camera and integral field unit. All telescopes these days have cameras, especially if you build them that big. Why are you going to write utility with camera and integral field unit? You just say large telescope near infrared for extragalactic research. But they said it was a mistake. All right. So I'm just saying, like, this stuff is there. Right? You look at this and you're like, whoa, wait a second. So wait, let me just erase that red here. Yeah, there you go. So these are the things that oh, I think that's why. Oh, I guess I can't erase it. Okay, let me just see. Okay. So yeah, all right. Oh, that's good. I just did it on that one page. So these are the things that come up, and it makes you go like, oh, because remember, what we're doing as sidereal astrologers is and once you go out there into the world of astrology, you're going to be fighting a battle, and you're fighting the battle of having something stolen from you, and then it's given back to you, and it's broken, and you found the right way to do it. You found how to fix it. So now you're going back and you're saying to the world, hey guys, this is the right way to do it. And then you're fighting with the ignorant ones that are doing it the other way. That doesn't align up with the stars, but yet all the images and all the promotions say, oh, your destiny's in the stars, your future's in the stars, my astrology from the stars, constellation club, this and that. But then they're not lining up with the stars. So what are they doing? And then you come and you say, hey guys, you're not lined with the stars. There's a problem here. I know what it is. And things are hidden. So then you start realizing like who's hiding everything and why it's hidden. And you come up to something like this with the Lucifer telescope by the Vatican, and you're like, oh, maybe they're hiding it. Are they hiding it? They must be. We just pointed out 2 instances which it points to that. So, all right. So now I wanted to show you another thing here. So this is just a quick little note. So the pyramid, it's so many things. It's a monolithic structure, and it's so much information that maps our relationship to the stars and our relationship to our planet and everything that we are. It's basically a library. It's an energy center. It's pretty much everything, right? So we're going to get into that for a little bit, just to share with you what the ancient knowledge connected to the stars, what they were trying to do was just keep us from going through the dark ages, the dark time of our precessional cycle. So this is something, the speed of light is 29,792,458 miles per second. The coordinates for the Giza pyramid, the north, is 29,979,248, right? So they built it right there saying, marking, this is the speed of light. This is the limitations of this planet. Because right now, the limitations of this planet is the speed of light, from what we understand. That's it. That's Saturn. Because they say we're born under the realm of Saturn. Saturn is the controller of our fate. That's why in Mecca they have the cube. That's why Saturn is the cube. Everything is a cube. Everything is square, right? So that's Saturn. Saturn is what we're operating under, and that's the limit. These are our limits on this earthly plane right now. So let me just this should have went to the next. Let me see. Okay, So another interesting thing is when we talk about vibration a lot, right? 432 is the universal frequency, right? That's what we vibrate at. That's the universal vibration is 432. Hey Vasumi, you made it. So 432 is the vibration, universal vibration. That's who we want to be. And if you want to look it up even further, at one point our music was tuned to 432 hertz, universal vibration. And they call it conspiracy, but the elites, which I think it's the Rockefellers, Rothschilds, they created. I forget all the foundations, but they basically made it so that music, including orchestras, are now have to tune to 440. So all of the broadcasting that goes out, everything now is 440, which is slightly off from 432. So you don't really notice a difference. So basically, what they did was, and this is why they call it a conspiracy, is they said where we can't. That's why classical music, old music, classical music, is enlightening, right? It sounds beautiful, and that's why a lot of the composers, the classical composers, when they were making music in 432, they were making music from the cosmos. They were receiving information from another realm because they were playing in universal frequency. So what happened is this so-called, whatever you want to call them, which why they call it a conspiracy, said no, we're going to make we have a foundation. All the music and everything that gets broadcasted has to be now tuned to a universal frequency of 440, right? A globe like 440, not 432 anymore. But 432 is the universal frequency. So the pyramids are built on a 1 to a 43,200 scale model. That's what the pyramids are. And then if you look at the way it's built with that, it says here the distance the Earth spins on the equator in 2 seconds is equal to the perimeter of the Great Pyramid of Giza. Since there are 86,400 seconds in a day, 2 seconds is 1/43,200th of a day. Multiplying the height of the Great Pyramid by 43,200 equals the polar radius of Earth. Multiplying the perimeter of the Great Pyramid by 43,000 equals the equatorial circumference of Earth. The Great Pyramid is a 1/43,200 scale model of the northern hemisphere of Earth and represents a 1/43,200 ratio of a time and a day. So this is like the ancients building these structures, trying to like leave us information. If you know mathematics, you can figure out if you vibrate at 432, you're going to attune to the cosmos. If you vibrate at 440, you're going to be eating McDonald's, right? So that's kind of what we're dealing with. So, and this is what we're uncovering right now. So let's see. This is something that I show because, we have debates about the stars, and it's just light and light speed, and so there's debates, right? So our limited visible scale is right here with these, right here in the Roy G. Biv, right in the rainbow frequency. But the vibration, the vibrations, the light that's coming to us, all of these. So this vast scale is the full vibration scale, and we only see the visible, this small part. So we're getting hit with radio waves, infrared, ultraviolet, and gamma waves, and X-rays. And that's what the stars and the cosmos are made out of. And that's what we're getting hit with, but we can't see it, which is why the influence of the zodiac belt is something that we have to pay attention to. So let me just keep moving along. So here we get into string theory, and there's an image that I have here that I put. And this is a nice image. This is actually for a band, but this is a person that's sitting there, and there's strings attached to her. And these orbs I consider planets. So these are the planets and their vibration, and they're attached to a person. And that vibration influences you in certain ways. So she's like almost like a puppet, which is what we spoke about, remember, in the beginning of the slideshow, where Atum says, I'm going to build the zodiac to control humans. So then now you start looking into it and you realize, okay, we're being controlled, but if you understand it, you can find your way out of it. So now you look and you realize string theory exists. And that's the element that we're going to look into in a little bit. And we're going to see that's how astrology works, which is why it's important to pay attention to the accurate alignments. So I'm going to share this book with you. I'm going to give you my PDF, but The Elegant Universe, if you just want to write that down, it's by Brian Greene. It talks about, it's a perfect explanation of string theory, and he's a great writer. So it's a amazing, easy read, right? And this is Michio Kaku, right? So he just writes, and this is like, just to give you an idea of what we're dealing with when we're talking about string theory. In string theory, all particles are vibrations on a teeny rubber band. Physics is the harmonies on the string. Chemistry is the melodies we play on vibrating strings. The universe is a symphony of strings, and the mind of God is cosmic music resonating in 11-dimensional hyperspace. So that's the explanation of string theory, right? We're all connected, and we're gonna get more into that in a little bit. So hang on. Yeah. All right. So we jumped into this. Hang on. I'm a little frozen. Okay. I don't know if I share this with you, but this is a book, and I have. I think I have. No, I don't have that. You have to get that on your own. It's Cosmic Influences on Human Behavior, and this is the only known study on astrology that has been peer reviewed, meaning in science, peer reviewed meaning other people has studied it and tried it to try to debunk it, and they couldn't find any flaws in it. So this is Cosmic Influences on Human Behavior. Now, what this graph shows here, and what the image on that book is he did a study called the Mars effect. His name is Michel Guaquelin. It's called the Mars effect, and he studied, I think, 2,000 charts. And those people that had Mars on the rising, you see that point, which is what we talk about, just above the ascendant, which is the 12th house, right? That's that. In an astrology chart, that's our 12th house, rising, above the eastern horizon. So, and this is the graph that shows it. So these people that had Mars here, we did the study, were athletes, competitors, overachievers, and strong business people, and had the high qualities of Mars, that combative, aggressive energy. So he did the study and showed, yeah, these people with Mars here, they were like either in the military, athletes, whatever. And then he did it again. He did the study again with Jupiter. Then he did it again with Venus. So if you have Venus here, you're more like artistic. If you have Saturn there, you might be a scientist, right? So let's just go through that. We'll pass that. There's a couple clips. We'll just pass that. Hang on. Oh, my thing is getting hung up. I'm frozen. Hang on a second. Oh, let's just wait for it. I think this thing froze up on me. Yeah, let's just wait a few seconds, I think, because there was some videos in here. I might have to, let's see. I might have to close it and then restart, not reboot, but just start the software again. Yeah, it's just hung up. I'll restart it. Okay. So anyway, while we're waiting for this thing to reboot, did anybody have any questions on what I just went over with all that stuff?
So I have a question, Isaac, and and excuse me for being late. I had a session and it ran over time.
Oh yeah, no problem.
But so on the rising, so that means anything from the 12th house up to the 9th house sort of thing.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So so it's like clockwise now.
So if mine was Jupiter, for example, it would be that, so that Jupiterian energy, that bigness, you know,
Yeah,
has influence. Okay.
yeah, exactly. That's like strong. Yeah, that will be strong in your chart because you have it rising.
So I probably the overinflation of everything.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Big spirit, big, all of that. Yeah, will show up for you.
It's like, wow, it's so big.
Yeah, yeah. And usually people in the galactic center, they have that as well.
Right.
Oh, great. Okay, so let's get to, let me see if that, let me, I might have to go, I'm going to fast forward through this. All right. So so let's get into this. This is just tapping on the quantum entanglement thing. So, so what we're gonna get at is with the string theory, and when I share the books with you, you're gonna be able to really look into it. This is just, I'm just showing you real quick, but quantum entanglement, it's exactly what it says here. It's two particles affect each other, and they've effectively have done these studies. They took two particles and they put them in a tube. They trained them with each other. They kept them there so they got to vibrate with each other, and then they separated them 7 miles in both directions, so 14 miles apart. Then they monitored them with atomic clocks, and they monitored the changes. So when one changed, the other one changed instantaneously. So it wasn't, so you see, earlier we talked about the limitations of planet Earth is light speed, right? But now when you get enlightened, literally enlightened, where you work with the light, you can work with what's quantum entanglement, which is instantaneous energy transfer. That's what quantum is. So it's not like light speed would be like, okay, let's turn this particle and in whatever amount of speed, the amount of distance and speed of light, whatever that calculation is, then this other particle will turn. And then we'll turn that again. We'll wait for the speed of light, and then boom, the other one turns. In this instance, with quantum entanglement, they went boom, boom, boom at the same time. So what that tells us is that, right, so this is a small scale of the study, but it's saying all particles are connected. It's saying particles that are connected can affect one another. So if we remember all of our ancient spiritual studies, because I'm sure some of us have read things and heard the ancient, Native American quote, what you do to the net, you do to yourself. What you do to others, you do to yourself. Because all particles are connected. And even though it's minute and, you can use free will to block a lot of stuff, we're ideally connected. That's just, there's no bottom line. Like, we're all connected, because the Big Bang theory, which that's also being looked at. Every theory is being looked at and trying to get debunked. So you'll hear different stories on everything. But the Big Bang model was every particle in the universe fit into compressed size of a pea, and then that means that all the particles at one point in time when it was compressed, they all were touching each other. And then the big release happened, and then the universe was formed. So the key word is, at one point, all those particles touched each other. So meaning they all were entrained. So if you kind of taking pieces of models and you're adding them together, that could make a lot of sense. So all particles at one point in time were connected, including the stars, including the planets. So we're all made of the same thing, and we're all connected. And so this is the logic that I'm rolling with to try to understand astrology. So now quantum entanglement makes perfect sense. right? If you think about it that way, string theory makes perfect sense, because string theory, like we saw, and we'll go through the book if we have more time, is everything in the universe is strings, vibrating strings. And then based on the vibration, the strings start to take form, and then they become particles, and then the particles become matter, right? So that's the sound, right? First sound of the universe was Om, right? So the vibration, God, spoke and created the universe. He vibrated his voice and created the universe. And that's why you have a lot of sound vibrational healing stuff that happens too. So this is what we're working with. We're working with vibration. And that's what string theory is. And the electric universe is we're in a big plasma ball. And the strings are all electrified and they're all connected in this big plasma ball. And that's where we get dark energy and dark matter from. We're all in this. It's like a fish is in water. It doesn't know that it's in water, right? So but it's not really separate from that other fish, because they're in the water. All of their body is covered in the water, and they're in the water, but they don't realize they're in the water. So like we're in the ethers right now. We're in air, and we don't realize that we're covered. We're completely like in water right now, but it's ether. We don't feel it the same way the fish don't feel the pressure of water. So we're in that ether, and it's electric. So as we move, everything else is being affected, but it's all minute. But if you tune into that, right? If you tune into the 432 frequencies and you tune into the higher vibrations, you can then be more attuned to these types of energies. And then you can, your life will be guided in that manner rather than being manipulated, right? So this is kind of what we're talking about. When you know the way of the Mazzaroth, you're becoming an enlightened being. So, and this is just idea of like quantum entanglement, quantum physics proves once two particles or people meet, they remain connected forever. That's how you know what's happening to your best friend who you haven't talked to for months, right? So this is like a kind of lame explanation, but it's true. And that's the heart energy, right? Is we have heart energy. And I don't know if you saw my Sunday newsletter, but I shared an article about that, and even on the group, how that since the pandemic lockdown, our human vibrational field went down. So humans vibrate, and we all sync because our heart fields are about 8 feet, 6 to 8 feet round, and they touch. So when we walk by someone, that's why you can feel someone at negative energy, positive energy. Oh, that person's cool. That person's cool, because you're picking up on their electromagnetic field of from their heart and their brain. These are electromagnetic. They create electromagnetism, and the Earth's sphere is electromagnetism, and the sun is electromagnetism, and the planets are electromagnetism, and all the suns and all the stars are electromagnetism. And you live in an electric universe. So all these things are buzzing around and affecting us, right? So at some point, the ancients knew the mathematics behind all of this. And we're going to get into that in the second slideshow, I believe. So this is just Saturn. I said we're controlled by the realm of Saturn. That's like mythology kind of talking. But once you go on that path and looking into Saturn and the mythology behind Saturn, we are under the control of structure, time, and limit. He's the god of time. And you can see there's a hexagon on top, right? So that means that planet is vibrating. There's a really expensive book called The Rings of Saturn. It's really expensive, and there's a lot of research that's showing and saying that these rings of Saturn are actually like a record. These are like this information in these rings, and there's a vibration, and that's what we're receiving. But that's a big stretch for me right now, but I'm just sharing that with you. So then, here's a fucus. Now I'm just gonna get a drink of water. Hang on one second, okay? All right. So I don't know. Most of you have been seeing in the news lately, right? Like all these articles about the 13th zodiac sign of Fucus, newly discovered by NASA. The zodiac sign changed. NASA changed it. Poor, like, and people are going, I'm not changing my sign. I'm not, whatever. Who's a Fucus? That sounds stupid. And so you're gonna always fight about a Fucus and whatever, right? So we went over the zodiac belt and we showed you how it touches the ecliptic, right? So it's part of the zodiacal ring, the influence. It's part of the Mazzaroth, right? And that's, we explained that in the beginning of the class and everything, right? So that's how it works, right? The planets are passing through a band of about 19 degrees, the sun and the planets, and that vibration.
Could I ask a quick question about that?
Yeah. Who's that, Ray?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
I saw like one of the definitions that they talked about for like Mazzaroth in that little clip you showed was the 12 sign.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, well that kind of makes sense. Like the Bible was written when, like 400 AD-ish.
Yeah.
But I was just curious when you just mentioned that it is included in the Mazzaroth, but you're just saying like the true Mazzaroth.
Oh, yeah. Just knowing the stars, because once we get, once we get to where we are now, so the number 13, the 13th zodiac sign, is a living being. So the 13 is actually, it is part of the zodiac, but the 13, the 12 beastly signs, right? Because knowing those like beastly archetypes, and then being able to embody the 13th. Later on, I'm going to show you where Imhotep, it's all connected, even down to Jesus is a 13. Okay, cool. So what, like I said before, because I don't know how many of you looked into it and traced it back, but you trace it back, they have the same rod, and this is also the rod of medicine, but the rod of medicine now has two wings, Asclepius of Greece. So I don't know, by now you might know already, but most of the Greek mythology is actually just taken from Egyptian mythology, and it seems there's less distortion of it just seems pure to me for some reason. So, which is linked to a real man. This man lived in ancient Egypt around 27th century BCE. His name was Imhotep, following the pattern of Enki. Enki is the Imhotep, can also be found in the biblical man Joseph, son of Jacob. Imhotep is credited with many accomplishments, including the knowledge and use of medicine. And it's said that Imhotep, widely used today to represent the medical profession, was used to represent Imhotep, the sun and creator god. Imhotep, who was known to the Greeks as Asclepius, was an incarnation of Enki, who was just solar zodiac, and it tells you all the signs. The stellar zodiac once featured 13 signs. The large Fucus, serpent bearer. In the esoteric tradition, a Fucus is considered the hidden or invisible sign and divine wisdom. So that's a Fucus. Now, there's another book, and I'm going to share that, The Cosmos. It's by the same writer who wrote the Pyramid Code. So this is not an astrology book, so it's not going to talk about who is Imhotep, who's Imhotep, and is it the same as a Fucus? Whatever I hear about a Fucus and Asclepius, is Imhotep, is that the same? Imhotep's Book of the Dead. So it was proven that unless that Book of the Dead that he wrote was fake, that this person lived, physical lived. Virgo, well, maybe Virgo lived too, that's Virgin Mary, we'll get into that. But you can't say like Taurus lived, Taurus is this person. Yes, a Fucus is Imhotep. Imhotep, they said a Fucus lived. Imhotep lived. I just saw his Book of the Dead. So it's Imhotep's titles, Chief of the Observers. So, which became the regular title of the High Priestess. So, and this is important. This is what got me to realize that he was a sidereal astrologer. Occupation connected with astro, because a lot of astrology, like the tropical astrology, is really considered solar astrology in the 4 points, right? And that's in the 4 seasons. Imhotep did astro, meaning the beyond. Okay, so yeah, just more like where he was, and then he was both astronomer. He did astronomy and astrology. That's what we do, right? Oh, that's what I do, and that's what I'm teaching you. So his name, and taught the motion of the stars and the constellations. You see, it doesn't say anything about he taught them. He was pure cosmic, right? So this is Imhotep, which is who a Fucus is, right? He knew the way, he knew the zodiac, which is why he's 13. So let's move over. Let's see here. These are the symbols that you see a lot, right? So here's the typical, the Kundalini, and this is the staff. This is the Asclepius Aureus staff of Osiris. This is the Asclepius. And if you notice, the snake goes up 7 times. And if you look at the Kundalini master, Kundalini is the energy. That's right, and the rest of the chakras are out of your body. So I think there's like 11 or 12, right? So in modern day medicine, here's all the symbols. They still use that symbol, same symbol. Trace it down all the way to Imhotep. Imhotep's a fucus. So how can you say fucus doesn't exist? We still use this symbol. Argument like that when you're fighting with tropical astrologers, because this is kind of what you're going to be doing. You're going to be like, look, bam, right? So this is just more about income. That's something that we don't have to get into. This is astrology and the 11 dimensions. But he mentions here, that we are multidimensional beings existing in a multidimensional reality. The human being, right? Our souls evolve. The universe was created. Spirits have always existed in high spiritual dimension. So, and then where does it go? Each level of our consciousness expand, currently be referred to as the afterlife realms. So this is like the cycles. Like we don't really die, right? So, but what's interesting, you keep reading through here, and it's like the idea of the universe is a popular theory of everything in quantum physics, according to string theory. So Edgar Cayce was already talking about this, and now we're coming up with string theory and quantum. It's like what the mystics already knew, but what they were trying to teach us. So